I've got some clips here just to give you a little taste of what this van was like. We can barely skim the surface, but let's take a look at it. I heard this van was going to be here, and I found it. It's Emcomm 1. Hi, Ray.
Hello, George, and everybody out there. Good to see you here, and good to be in Huntsville, even though it's a little bit wet.
It is quite a little bit wet out there right now, and we've got another friend here. This is Mike. And what's your last name?
Lee, L-E-E.
Mike Lee, and you're with, tell us what organization you're with.
I'm with Flagler County Emergency Management, and I'm also a ham, like the rest of you. And we've built this vehicle basically to support public safety. Of course, you can't have just a public safety vehicle. You have to have amateur radio equipment as well, because they're a lot of times the eyes and ears for public safety, just like having GMRS capability and MERS and FRS and everything else.
So this is a county in Florida?
This is the county just north of Daytona Beach, Flagler County, and we're actually out of Palm Coast, Florida.
Okay. So then the folks down there know very well ham radio plays a big part in emergency communications.
They do indeed. In fact, Flagler County was the first county in the state of Florida to be certified by the National Weather Service for Skywarn.
Well, let's take a look around the vehicle. I'm going to tap into both of y'all to tell me what it is I'm looking at, because I don't know all the land mobile stuff.
All right, well, we're going to give you a little bit of light in this area. George, the first one here is a land mobile radio that is Part 80 certified, so it can be used as a marine base station. Right next to it is the ICV 8000. It's not powered up right now in this configuration.
And that's an amateur radio.
Yes, that is an amateur radio, 2-meter, 75-watt 2-meter radio. Then right next to it, that has the number 903 right above it, is a aviation mobile. Then we have two of our P25, our 9511s set up. Program, Mike?
This one is programmed as VHF, so we have, as an example, all of the Florida Forestry Service frequencies on it. We've got a number of others, such as railroad frequencies on it. We've got MERS on it, on VHF, and then, of course, we're authorized to use it for amateur, too, if we need to. Then next to it is a UHF version, kind of a twin, if you will.
We have an IC 7100 body and then a body for our F8101, which is our commercial HF product. Then to it is a communications console with two ID 5100s right above it. And then a couple of control heads for those two HF radios that we just saw. The F8101 is an ALE compatible HF radio. It's 150 watts, a little bit larger body, more heat dissipation, and then the 7100 right next to it.
Unlike normal satellite telephone, this one's rather unique. It's called MSAT. It's used by every county in the state of Florida, and in fact in many states throughout the U.S., including Hawaii, Puerto Rico, as well as Alaska, of course. One of the purposes of this vehicle is to be able to bridge different kinds of RF, both on the marine side, the airband side, the Part 90 side, and if necessary, the Part 97 side as well. Below that's just a simple Windows 7 computer. Next to that here is a Green Heron rotator controller. You saw the mast outside. We've got a tail twister up there. And right now, we have a 20 through 6 meter hex beam from Radio Waves, and we chose them not because of the amateur side per se, but they're the only ones that make custom antennas. So they actually make a hex beam where we can have federal frequencies, different length wires, of course, and we can operate ALE and have a 2-element directional with a really good front-to-back ratio for a non-amateur antenna. Down on the bottom here, we have 400 amp hours of AGM battery. We're using batteries from Lifeline. On top of that, here we've got a 2,000 watt inverter charger. So obviously, if we're operating off battery power, we don't have shore power or generator backup. We can operate, for example, our computer here, and we've got a couple of other accessories that are AC only.
George, as you look through here, you see a lot of tightly bundled wires. Everything's behind, bundled together nicely. But if you look up higher, you're going to see all these raw wires out here. You have any idea why we do that?
I would say because you want to be prepared in an emergency that you can rewire this thing to operate completely differently.
Wow, he read the script, didn't he, Mike?
He was pretty good. The real reason is very, very close. We actually leave these open just for demonstration purposes. So when we were at APCO earlier this week, on Monday, Tuesday, we use this to be able to show people that we don't have two things. Number one, you don't see anything here that's flush mount like you do on a lot of public safety vehicles. And the philosophy there was very intentional in that if something's flush mount, you're not going to want to change it because you're going to have to cut a new panel and everything else. Similarly here, if this was all behind some very, very elaborate flush mounting, you wouldn't want to change the wiring either. And that's contrary to what we wanted to do. This vehicle, the vehicle itself is 12 years old, but it's constantly over the years changed missions, it's changed equipment. A great example, just recently in the last 10 weeks, we got some new P25 capable equipment. Prior to that, we had some previous generation equipment. We want to be able to swap it quickly, rewire it really quickly, and be able to go, kind of a run and gun type of a situation. We might, for example, be supporting the feds, and so we might need to install a Fed radio. We don't want to be able to have to take apart a flush mount panel or wiring harnesses that are just immovable. So we wanted the capability to be really flexible on a dime, very nimble, and be able to change equipment or facilities based on mission.
We have a redundant set of P25 mobiles here. And then we come back to a Harris radio, which is an EDAX radio that they use in Flagler County. A little bit farther back, we have a stack with a switch, two Emcomm VEPG3s, which are the interoperability boxes, which Mike will explain how he's got those configured, as well as an IP1000C, and then a Gulfstream SIP server for a phone system. Hiding right behind it, the Emcomm AP90, which is an access point, a Wi-Fi access point. This has some unique capabilities with some of the Emcomm IP branded product. But Mike, can you please explain how you have your switch and your VEPG3s configured?
Sure. So we have two VEPG3s on the bottom here. They're identical except the way that they're programmed. Each of these boxes supports 4 radio interfaces. So we have a total of 8 that can be used simultaneously. They can be bridged, all 4 radios on one of the VEPG3s, or they can bridge those 2 different VEPG3 boxes. Everything is IP. Once it comes into the bridge controller, for example, this 800 megahertz radio, comes into the bridge controller using analog, but immediately it does an analog to digital conversion. And everything after that is digital, unless you're going to another destination radio, in which case, of course, it does a digital to analog conversion. But that's what gives us the capability to do some rather unique things. Unlike most public safety systems, we can not only bridge between radios, which is important, because all public safety folks don't want to carry another radio. Their philosophy is, I want to carry the radio that I'm accustomed to, the one that I'm very familiar with. I've got spare batteries for it. I've got chargers in my car, all of those things. They want to carry their own radio, and they want us as COMLs, communication leaders or communication techs, to do all the background magic for them to be able to communicate to whatever destination they're trying to go to. Great example. We have situations where we might have a battalion chief that's using an 800 megahertz radio, and he might want to talk to an airband radio for an out-of-area asset, like a helicopter. And he doesn't have an airband radio, a portable, so we can bridge them directly from a Harris EDAC system directly into airband. Using his own radio, he'll be able to talk to that helicopter, and vice versa, of course. So these two boxes basically give us the capability to bridge the radios, but what's unique is because it's all IP or digital on the back end, we can also have a radio talk to something like this, an IP phone.
Anything to anything. I like that idea.
Well, and George, we've seen much larger vehicles before, but usually those larger vehicles have a conference room, has a big whiteboard. It's really meant as an incident command post or command facility. For us, because we're radio guys, commercial, public safety, as well as ham, what we thought was, and we got validated at APCO earlier this week in Orlando, was that very few agencies have a purpose-built, mission-compatible vehicle that does only communications.